Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Good morning, Meredith. So good to see you and to talk about the grand finale of the Bachelor season.
Yeah, 3 hours that we watched last night. Not 3 hours of Bachelorette content, but 3-hour episode.
My friend Jesse Palmer had told me this would be the most dramatic, most exciting event of perhaps my lifetime. So I was incredibly anxious, excited, ready to go. I was a little bit let down.
Dad, did you vote for America's First Impression Rose on Twitter last night?
I did not. I did not do that, and I found that we got to meet our new bachelor. We had a new twist of how do we spend 3 hours on television? I guess we need to bring in some of the actual contestants in the next Bachelor season to fill up time and space, and I found it to be incredibly awkward and unnecessary.
Oh, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
So it was 3 hours. It was the last show of the season, but we have the job of getting through the season and sharing our thoughts. So we should do that.
Yeah, before we get into the terrible stuff, let's talk about some good stuff with our highs. I, once again, actually don't remember if I enjoyed this last week, but I know I talked about it. Watching Rachel and Gabby watch themselves on the episodes was just a really big high for me because of the difference between Gabby and Rachel's reactions. Rachel and her parents were so pissed watching Rachel's engagement. It was a major spoiler alert for those of us who didn't know what was going to happen. It's quite clear she was no longer with Tino.
And I think I noticed more of that this week after you pointed it out last week. And certainly Rachel was shooting lasers out of her eyes pretty much the whole time she was watching her engagement with Tino. Big Tony looked like he was going to bring out a baseball bat and smash things. I did enjoy Big Tony's new goatee. I like that. He looked even more intimidating with the goatee than he looked before. So I'm all pro Big Tony there. But before we even go there, I was confused because Jesse Palmer starts last night's episode by saying, we've got a lot of stuff to cover. Will Rachel forgive Tino's indiscretions? What about Eric's damning text messages sent a few days before he left the limo? And I'm scratching my head saying, wait, did I miss a show? Did I fall asleep for a half hour during the last show, which was possible? Because these seem to be new revelations that I was not aware of. How are we supposed to know these things?
I would say majority of viewership is probably on social media, and TikTok was blowing up this past week with some text messages between Eric and a quote-unquote girlfriend pre-show. And then I also did see a few spoilers about some Tino cheating happening post-show. So I did know that was coming, but that was an actual spoiler. The Eric text messages weren't so much a spoiler as something that just happened pre-show. So Jesse was kind of giving away at least Rachel and Tino's ending there.
Well, I'm on a little bit of social media, mostly to follow my sports teams and whatnot. So I was not aware of this, and I was not aware of any of the indiscretions or any of that. So I don't know. I was a little confused to begin the show. And I think I texted you about it, and you said, well, probably people like me don't watch The Bachelor, so that hurt. That hurt. And one of the things also that I took note of is that Jesse was very quick to point out that Bachelor Nation royalty was there in force during the show and last night's live show. And I think I recognized Michelle, who was our Bachelorette a season or two ago, and Caitlin, who was a hostess at one point in time. Didn't really recognize a lot of other people. And I guess I was just wondering whether being part of Bachelor Nation royalty is a good thing or not. It seemed to be predominantly young ladies, and I was wondering whether it's predominantly young ladies that don't have a significant other, which to me seems a little ironic considering what we're trying to accomplish here.
They were three bachelorettes, three past bachelorettes. We had Michelle Young, Becca Kufrin, and Caitlin Bristow, all of whom are no longer with their winner from their season, but Caitlin is engaged to Jason Tartick, who was on Becca's season. Becca is engaged to what's his face from Katie's season, the villain. They met in Paradise. I don't remember his name now. Very tall, handsome boy. And Michelle recently broke up with her winner, Nate. You know Nate.
I remember Nate. Nate was the player. We remember Nate. So
yes.
Sean
Lowe and his wife Catherine were also there. Sean is a bachelor from back when I first started watching the show when I was in high school. It was interesting to see him there. He did make a public announcement when Chris Harrison got the boot that he was going to remove himself from Bachelor Nation in support of Chris Harrison. But he's back.
So I got the impression that there were like 20 people there from Bachelor Nation royalty, when they showed just this group of people there. So I didn't realize that we're just talking about a select few.
Yeah, I guess, to be royalty, you have to have been a lead.
Okay, well, so Rachel and Gabby are now considered to be royalty. Congratulations, Rachel! You didn't get a husband, but you get to sit with the royalty people and throw popcorn and provide critiques as we go forward.
Maybe she'll be on Paradise next year.
Ugh. Okay, I can't believe Big Tony would approve of that.
So, well, it's not all rain clouds for Rachel. She does not end up with Tino. But a high for me was Aven asking Rachel to leave after the final rose with him and catch up, basically kind of asking her out right in front of Tino. I thought that was funny. Tino, you sit here, watch your ex-fiance that you did dirty and still want to be with, get asked out in front of you, and she's gonna leave you on stage very awkwardly.
I guess that was fine. I will. We went through this whole rigmarole, and some of the highlights and lowlights start to blur together for me, where Rachel and Tino have they get engaged in Mexico. But now we're here at the live show, and post engagement, we got troubles in Paradise, and Rachel talks a little bit about the troubles that they've had, and guess what? They're going to talk it out, and out of good fortune, we're going to tape all of this conversation. We're going to try to work out our problems. With TV crews all over the place, which can't be a good way to really work out your problems. And all of a sudden, I feel like we're on the train to Crazy Town here, because I don't know. I think that there's probably issues on both parties. Apparently, Tino kissed another girl, from what I can gather. That he cheated. He kissed another girl. And you shouldn't kiss other girls if you are engaged. Bad thing to do. But
he called it the tiniest thing ever.
Probably not that they're I would think there are tinier things than kissing other girls. So it would appear to me that Rachel has no intentions of trying to work anything out with Tino. During their conversation, every time Tino says something, she gets this look on her face like, you're stabbing me in the heart with a knife, and these looks of disbelief. She's going to be a tough one for somebody.
I don't know. I feel like she was just in shock by a lot of what Tina was saying. I would be in shock too and like have an incredulous look on my face if someone cheated on me and called it the tiniest thing ever. And like, oh, I kissed someone else, but then that's what made me realize I want to be with you. Like, and he did, it seemed like he was trying to turn it around on her a lot. Like, we were having issues, like, you weren't being good to me. You said that like you would give the ring back if we just went back to dating, and that just destroyed me. Like, what you were doing drove me to kiss someone else. That would piss me off too.
I guess I didn't hear it in that such a strong fashion as what you're saying and what Rachel appeared to be hearing. I don't know if this is a gender thing. I am not in any way condoning, Tino, but I also just, Rachel was exhausting me. She was just exhausting me. Both in the tape part as well as when Tino came out on the live part, and she didn't strike me as she was looking for closure. She was just looking to put it on him.
Well, I feel like to get like I don't think that he was even really taking enough responsibility, like as much as she wanted him to. And I just don't think that they saw it the same way, and they couldn't make the other one see it their way. So they were just kind of talking in circles over and over and getting nowhere.
It wasn't very satisfying for them. It wasn't very satisfying for us.
No, Tino seemed very like unwell when they were recording their breakup scene. Like, he didn't seem as sweaty as normal, but he just seemed a little unhinged to me, and like couldn't sit still for very long. Had to keep getting up, trying to take his microphone off, cover it up, like taking off his shirt to get into his microphone. Is going outside to make phone calls during the breakup. Who do you think he's calling?
Probably his agent or his lawyer, which maybe is the same person. I don't know.
I'm hoping it's his mom saying, "Mom, can you please come pick me up?"
Well, so I guess in the end, Tino's dad was right that this isn't going to work, and you don't know each other well outside of this plastic bubble that you've been living in, and dads were right again.
I don't know. I mean, his son cheated. It's not like it didn't work because it didn't work. It didn't work because he'd kissed someone else. I am curious about what their like difficulties they were going through is that they didn't want to talk about on the TV show. I'm assuming like they said it started when the show was airing. I'm guessing Rachel had a hard time like watching it back and like maybe seeing how well people were responding to Gabby over her. That probably like was pretty hard for her mentally and emotionally. But it's interesting to hear about like how she was the one like that had issues in their relationship, and Tina was there for her, and she was the one having to like put in the work, go to therapy, like try harder, do better. I thought that was interesting. I felt like it probably would have been harder for Tino watching back to see her dating so many guys.
I guess my knee-jerk reaction was, when this show starts, she is probably doing all sorts of press-related crap associated with the show, and having to show up on all sorts of dopey talk shows and late night shows and morning shows, and to me, I got the sense that maybe ABC was putting her through the ringer, and that was really wearing on her as well. That was my initial thought process.
Yeah, and from what I've seen on social media, people are definitely more keen towards Gabby, and I feel like that's got to be hard just getting compared to someone that's also a really close friend of yours that you like a lot. And I don't know, that's like not something that other leads have had to go through. So it'd be hard to be like the one that wasn't wanted.
Yeah, I guess that's also the case. Another good reason to avoid social media as much as you can.
All right. Should we move? We have some more highs to discuss.
Do we? All right, go ahead.
I liked how happy Gabby was watching her proposal. It was a nice, foil to Rachel's watching herself. Gabby couldn't keep a smile off her face the whole time. She had no poker face. It was good to see. And then we got some nice Gabby and Grandpa John and Jesse Palmer chat about Grandpa John being the next old man bachelor. And I thought it was funny how adamant Gabby and Grandpa John were like, no, that's a bad idea.
I did enjoy watching Gabby rewatch everything that happened, and and I thought Eric seemed much more at ease. I think both in the tape engagement portion as well as when he came out, and Jesse tried to play investigative journalist, and with these texts and everything, whatever they seem to have worked through their issues, and something to me always seemed a little suspicious about Eric throughout the whole show, but they seem to be much more comfortable with one another last night. So I'm happy for them. Hope it works out.
And happy for us for both picking Eric as Gabby's winner.
Happy for us. We both picked Eric. And I believe you picked Aven. I'm not sure that qualifies as a win. Maybe we'll give you a half point for that because Aven did escort Rachel off the show to console her, talk with her, whatever. I don't know. So we thought that Aven was very appropriate and seemed like an overall good guy, and throughout this whole process seemed to be there for the right reason.
Yeah, I like Aven. He is a good guy. Not sure I would go back to Rachel after the breakup that they had, but to each their own. Maybe they just needed Aven to come in on his white horse and swoop her up and make it so there's like sort of maybe you could pretend there's a happy ending.
Yeah. Disappointed that we didn't get any more Nate in any capacity, and that to me he was a fan favorite and a dad favorite as well.
Yeah, a big low of mine was the new Bachelor announcement, not being Nate or Aven, who I decided I was Team Aven last week. We've got another bland white boy gracing our screens for 10 weeks in 2023. I don't know if we've said it, but Zach is our new Bachelor. And, Jesse Palmer's like, it's so nice that they pick someone that doesn't look like me. They sort of still look like each other.
They look a lot like each other. But to me, the opportunity to get some more David Puddy screen time is very enticing. And, I thought Zach, he seemed to be a very good guy. Maybe he's a little bit bland. I think at some points you have told me that that's sort of the modus operandi for Bachelor, and that, we're going to bring a bland guy in and then watch girls go insane. So I guess that's the formula that they're sticking to.
Mm-hmm. And we did get to see Zach meet 5 women last night. This isn't the first time that they've done this. Hannah Brown also got to meet 5 guys from her season during After the Final Rose. And it was just as awkward when Hannah did it. It was so uncomfortable to watch. Zach was so nervous. The women were so nervous. Zach couldn't remember a single one of their names afterwards, which I thought was...
That made me feel better because I couldn't either, and that made me feel better.
But one of them even gave him a little rhyme to remember her name.
And he got close, didn't he? It was like her name was Bailey, and you should wake up and say that daily or something like that. And I don't remember what he said, but it was close.
He got like the Bay part of it right. I think he said like Baden or Balin.
Poor guy.
Yeah. It was. I felt like secondhand embarrassment watching it all unfold, and it makes me curious. Like, is that what night 1 is like, and then they just edit it to make it so much less awkward?
Well, I at least the people aren't walking out of limos in front of an audience of a couple hundred people. I think that makes it even worse. I mean, I think that it's awkward enough walking out of a limo and meeting this person and trying to say or do something that's going to be memorable. Doing it in front of a couple hundred people, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to like meet a guy that I'm about to start dating and like try and flirt with him and make a good impression in front of anyone.
The young lady who got the first impression rose, voted on by America. I don't remember her name either, but I thought she had a good idea of taking a Polaroid picture selfie and leaving it with him. That would at least give him something to remember. So I thought that was a good move. So I thought, good for her for getting the America's first rose.
Yeah, I think her name was Brianna.
Oh, good for Brianna.
Good for Brianna. I have seen online that 2 of the contestants for Zach's season went to the University of South Carolina at the same time as I did. I do not recognize either, but I'm going to poll some friends and see if anyone knows them so I could get some inside scoop.
Well, you've got 2 or 3 months to figure this out. I guess we reconvene in January, so I'm sure our listeners will want to get your inside scoop there.
I would just really love if there was a season where I knew someone. I think that would be very fun.
Well, what other lowlights do you have?
My first lowlight that I wrote down was that when Rachel goes to Tino's room to tell him, like, you're the only one here, he did not even crack a smile. He did not look excited at all. He just kind of looked like a little stunned. No smiling, didn't seem happy. He like kind of pulled it together for his interview, but in the moment did not seem excited to be the last one standing.
He looked like the dog that caught the car, didn't he? Like, what do I do now? I didn't actually think I would win. So I was hoping to go to Bachelor Island and have some hedonistic relationships there. But now I'm getting engaged. And related to that, and you and I were testing, where was the ring guy? We were used to seeing
Neil Lane.
Neil Lane come on and break out his case of beautiful engagement rings and pick something out, and they had some rings and they said Neil Lane on them. I don't know if Neil Lane's got COVID or the situation
no, he was there. You see in Eric's scene where he's picking between 2 rings, someone sitting across the table from him. You can see like the fingers of another person like displaying the rings to him. I assume that's Neil Lane. They didn't even say Neil Lane's name. Usually, they at least have to say it a couple times on the show, but nothing.
And it wasn't like we were running short on time because we were doing all sorts of silliness at the end to fill up 3 hours. So you think you could have given Neil Lane a little bit of a plug there,
or just not had a 3-hour show.
That would have been better.
My last low, just some of the comments that Tino made during the breakup, calling him kissing another girl the tiniest thing ever, how he wished he had never even told Rachel about it. And then, he brought his journal to the breakup because he had written down quotes of things that Rachel had said that just really upset him, and he wanted to make sure he got those things right. And so, after he's reading word for word some of the things Rachel said to him in the past weeks that he had written in his little journal, he goes, she says something else, and he goes, I don't want to keep talking about things from the past. And I'm like, dude, your whole journal, that's what it is. And I just thought it was funny that he brought his journal.
Yeah, that was a little bit strange. And, he got there, he was not comfortable. He looked like he would be anywhere. He wanted to be anywhere else. I guess, the question I have, and I wrote this down as a low light, is, what sort of contracts are these people signing where all this crap's got to be on tape? If people are serious about having some sort of relationship, if they're serious about trying to work through their issues, don't do it in front of a camera crew. A little teaser there and some dad advice, but not a good idea. What sort of clause does ABC have into these people?
I've heard that the contracts are very intense that you have to sign. And then you have a very long period post show where you're not allowed to talk about what happened. Like it's like a year or 2 that you can't go. You can go on podcasts and stuff, but you can't give the tea about anything.
Yeah. Well, that that was a pretty uncomfortable, awkward situation. And again, I don't condone Tino, and I don't blame Rachel for breaking up with him. But her, I just came off feeling like um, she's she's a handful, and I think that we got some sense, particularly during the last few episodes, that maybe her what we see on Rachel's surface might not be everything going on with Rachel, and that she seems to put on a good veneer for when the cameras are on, but I don't know if that's how she is off camera. So I wish her the best, but um, I, I found her exhausting.
Well, I do feel like their whole argument during the breakup, it seemed like they were both really trying to protect their own image and what would be portrayed to America. And they both seemed very upset that the other one was trying to destroy that image. Like, it just seemed like they cared more about their portrayal than what was actually going on.
I would agree with that.
Right. Do you have any other lows?
I think we've touched on most of them. The incredibly awkward way to meet our first set of bachelorettes. There's just the fact that Tino cheated and we're confronting him with television cameras. I guess my other low light was when Jesse introduces our new bachelor, Zach, and says that he's going to be with him all the way. To me, that sounded more like a threat than anything else. So I'm not sure I need Jesse with me all the way, but that's me. I'm not a big Jesse fan.
Zach might need him to remind him of all the names of the women he's dating.
Someone can provide cue cards.
All right, let's get into the right reason. Make this quick for me. I'm giving it to Rachel for dumping Tino after he cheated on her. I think it can be a hard thing to do when you care about the person, saw a future with them, but she knew her worth, and, it might have been a tough conversation, and, things might have not gone as smoothly, but I think she did the right thing for herself.
Well, I'm giving my right reason to Big Tony, who basically said that he was going to support his daughter, be there for his daughter. That's what dads do. So I didn't really care for Tino. I didn't really care for Rachel. I thought Gabby and Eric were fine, but I'm going to give my right reason to Big Tony for being a stand-up dad.
Great. Well, I'm giving my wrong reason to Tino because he's a cheater, and as Ethan foreshadowed earlier in the season, he's a real baby back bitch.
Well, and he was suspicious and sweaty throughout the season. There's something always seemed a little off with him to me. I was I was never really comfortable with him, so I think that's good. But I'm going to give my wrong reason to ABC for putting so much stress on these people. For putting them through the ringer, for making them do all these things on camera. The chances of a successful relationship actually happening as you're going through this is just so small. So I put this on you, ABC. So you're my wrong reason.
Okay. Well, my MVP, to wrap this up, I've got to give it to my girl, Gabby. I quite enjoyed watching her on my screen all season. Always been a big fan. I'm happy that she got her engagement and that she's happy. It was good to see her with Eric. They seemed to enjoy each other, and I hope it works out for them.
I think that's very appropriate. She earned it through the whole season, not just for the episode. She's definitely the MVP for the season.
Yeah, I don't know how we would have made it through without her. Do you have any fatherly advice to wrap up this season?
A few things. Number one, semi-crisis in that I did run out of bourbon last night. So, first thing, make sure your bar is properly stocked if you're going to be watching this show. So That's the first piece of advice. Secondly, don't kiss other people if you're engaged. Bad move by Tino. He got what was coming for him. If you're engaged, that's it. You're engaged. You're not supposed to be with other people. So
probably even if you're just in a relationship, not a great move.
I agree. For Rachel and Tino, you need to learn how to work. I said you need to learn how to fight, but you need to learn how to work through your problems better. I just felt like they were banging their heads against walls. They, as you said, I thought pretty accurately, they seem more concerned about their image than actually resolving anything. I thought there were issues on both parts. If you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, you got to figure out how to communicate, work through your issues. They need to work on that. Having a TV crew there is probably not helpful, so don't bring TV crews into your relationship either. I think most importantly, and Rachel and Eric, I think both sort of touched on this, where at different points during the show, I think Rachel, when they were in Mexico and everything was hunky-dory, and maybe Eric later, I think Rachel at one point said, "You make me want to be a better person every day." And I think Eric said, "You bring out the best in me," to their respective partners. And that's really something that you want in a relationship. It's something that you want somebody that can push you a little bit, make you a little bit better, make you a more interesting person. I think that's pretty important for relationships. So, that would be fatherly advice to any other young people out there listening. Fortunately, I have that relationship, so I'm very happy.
There we go. That is, I think all the fatherly advice we could probably handle this year. Hopefully it gets us through till Zach's season.
Well, I hope so. And I guess my last piece will be fathers will do pretty strange things to keep in touch with their daughters. So, even being on a crazy podcast like this. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you in January. Not until then, though.
Love you too.
Well, we'd like to thank The Mesh for hosting our podcast. And if you like what you're hearing, feel free to give us a 5-star rating and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And, that's a wrap on Rachel and Gabby's season. It was something. I'm not sure we're going to have another dual lead season for a long time. But join us next season as we discuss Zach being the bachelor from the right perspective and my dad.